to what I was saying, so, survivor of SMAS, this is kind of a general overview of dysbiosis related to digestive health. It's not really going to be specifically on SMAS, but these are some, some of the things that come up when you have SMAS, when you can't, eat or go to the bathroom or have this, compression. And and this also might benefit more people who have had surgery, but if you want to follow along, and this is just a good lesson in gut health in general. Okay, so let me pull up my presentation. Okay, so dysbiosis is lifting the lid off of digestive discomfort. And before we get started, I just have a disclaimer here. This class is not intended to diagnose, treat, mitigate any disease. Dietary supplements and food can interact with prescription medications. If you're taking a prescription medication, become informed about the possible interactions or side effects. So I work for a company called Natural Grocers, and they're in several different states. And we have 5 founding principles. One is nutrition education, which is what I'm doing here. Highest standard for quality in all of our foods and products that we sell. Everyday affordable pricing, and supporting our local communities. Let me just hide that. And then we have great employees that we really support. So those are some things about Natural Grocers. Now, I'm not going to be able to see anybody, so I'll say that Stacy and Tara, if you can let me know if anybody has questions. We can save questions till the end, or if people want to jump in from time to time, that's fine too. But first we're going to talk about bacteria. And so this is just a cute little cartoon. Severe halitosis, 5 root canals and 3 cavities. Daisy, cancel all my appointments for the day. So it's kind of an unlikely friendship, but crocodiles have dentists, and the plover bird is actually the dentist. They pick out the tiny bits of food from the crocodile's teeth while also getting in a good meal. In nature, this is called a mutualistic relationship. And another mutualistic relationship that is pretty common is human beings and our beneficial bacteria, especially in our gut, but also in our skin and other places in our body. So a mutualistic relationship is where 2 organisms of different species work together and in which both benefit from the relationship. Trillions of bacteria live in almost every part of our human body. So microbial friends are also known as our gut microbiome or bacterial ecosystem. When our gut bacteria are not in balance because there are too many of the bad bacteria outweighing the good bacteria, we call this dysbiosis. Your gut alone has between 3 to 4 pounds of bacteria, and beneficial bacteria live on our skin and our gut and actually in our nose. Both bacteria and humans benefit from this. So in exchange for the bacteria having a place to stay in our digestive system, beneficial bacteria pay rent by doing many things that support the health of the human body that we cannot do as human beings on our own. So bacteria within the gut has many benefits. One is it supports our healthy immune system, digestion and absorption, fights pathogens, supports a healthy gut lining, synthesizes vitamins and other beneficial compounds like short-chain fatty acids. And short-chain fatty acids are basically the food for the cells in the lining of our gut, and so they're very important. But going back to a healthy immune system, about 70% of our immune system is in the gut, and bacteria play an important role supporting our immune system. Supports the digestion absorption. Bacteria have the ability to produce enzymes that support digestion, absorption, and can break down carbohydrates. Fighting pathogens, beneficial or non-pathogenic bacteria can outcompete bad bacteria to help eliminate this bad bacteria from our body. In the colon, bacteria ferments dietary fiber that is ingestible to create the short-chain fatty acids, or SCFAs. These short-chain fatty acids are the fuel for the colon, lining and for other parts of our digestive system. And I think I already said this, but other sources of short-chain fatty acids are organic butter and ghee. So these are really important to protect the gut lining, and also can be supportive for making vitamin B's and vitamin K. So our gut microbiome is basically an ecosystem, and it's kind of like walking a tightrope because we have to kind of keep it in homeostasis or in balance at all times. So our gut bacteria is shifting from time to time throughout the day so that it stays in balance and stays healthy. We can shape our microbiome with diet and lifestyle. When it gets out of balance, and this could be from anywhere from stress to poor diet, lack of sleep, taking medications, these would be antibiotics, proton pump inhibitors like PPIs, or exposed to other toxins, dysbiosis and gut dysfunction can happen. So when you're dealing with dysbiosis and poor gut health, it can lead to more complications such as leaky gut and autoimmune conditions, but also it can lead to other things like arthritis, dementia, heart disease, and actually SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So let's talk about GI, how our GI system works. Food that we eat travels from the mouth down the esophagus into the stomach and into the intestines and out the body through the colon. There's two different sections, which I'm sure you guys already know, small intestines and large intestines. Ideally, most of the bacteria is in the large intestines, which has about 10 to 100 billion per teaspoon of fluid. Less is found in the small intestines, which is about 100,000 per teaspoon of fluid. But SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, occurs when there is too much of the wrong bacteria in the small intestines. When SIBO occurs, two things could happen. One, bacteria in the large intestines goes to the small intestines. Or two, bacteria normally in the small intestines doesn't move to the large intestines. And my guess with SMAS is probably number two. It is important to have the right bacteria in the right places in the digestive system. So when too many bugs, or what we would say bacteria, are in the small intestine, they eat and ferment undigested carbohydrates, causing hydrogen gas production. Other bugs or bacteria can feed off of the hydrogen and produce methane gas, which is why most people feel more bloated or have more gas when they're having digestive dysfunction. So some of these carbohydrates could be wheat, legumes, sugar, alcohol, and those can all be things that just don't kind of agree with our stomachs. This bacterial gas can lead to bloating and mild or moderate stomach pain or diarrhea or constipation. Bacterial overgrowth can cause damage to the gut wall, impairing absorption and promoting a leaky gut, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Okay, so bacterial overgrowth in the intestines may produce toxic byproducts after fermentation, which could damage an inflamed digestive system. It may also affect absorption problems, such as for food and vitamins. You might not be able to absorb fat and break down carbohydrates. This can lead to diarrhea and leaky gut, which I'm not sure how many of you are familiar, but it's allowing large protein molecules, food toxins, and pathogens into the bloodstream, which can lead to food allergies and inflammation. So SIBO can really cause a lot of problems in our body, and this can also lead to other things like, skin conditions, autoimmune conditions as well. The body has protective mechanisms to keep bacteria under control, and typically in a healthy body, this would be stomach acid. So low pH acid in the stomach, which is acidic, helps to kill ingested bacteria before they enter the small intestines. Another one is digestive enzymes. So digestive enzymes are produced in the body, but also we can get that through supplements. And these are important to help break down, different foods like protein, carbohydrates, fats. Proper motility, normal movement of food and bacteria through the gut, which, as we all have SMAS, know that that isn't happening when we have that condition. And then this also affects our gut immune system. So our immune system is in the gut, and this means that we are secreting immunoglobulins, which are immune supportive substances like IgA, into the GI gut and aids in the preventing of bacterial overgrowth. So this impairs our immune function when our digestive function isn't working properly. Dietary and lifestyle factors can have a big impact on digestive health. For example, chronic stress has been shown to play a role in dysbiosis. So one of the interesting things that I've learned since I started working at Natural Grocers is how much cortisol, which we're going to be talking about in a minute, can affect which is a stress hormone, can affect our digestive health, which means that when you're going through a time of stress, or maybe you're even eating in a really stressful environment, that cortisol being pumped out, or the adrenaline, is actually shutting down some of your digestive system function. So it's important to, if you're able to eat anything, or if you're drinking mostly, on a liquid diet, which we were talking about earlier, it is important to try to do that in a less stressful environment as much as possible. Which I know that's hard to say because you guys have all been dealing with a lot of stress from having this condition, but whatever you can do to manage your stress, that will help a lot for digestion. So chronic stress can affect motility. So proper motility, just moving the food through the digestive system, and regularity, impairs the gut immune system. Stress can decrease the immunoglobulin IgA, which is important for mucosal lining and immune response. Actually decreases stomach acid, and stomach acid is one of the barriers so that we don't get sick from H. pylori or other pathogens that might also just play another role in being more sick. Lowering digestive enzymes. So stress can actually affect our fight and flight mechanism, and also promote more cortisol, and it can shut down different processes. But sorry, that was something separate. Lower digestive enzymes, like I was talking about, that will help to break down your protein, your carbohydrates, and your fat. Now, stress can affect our fight or flight mechanism and pumps out more cortisol, which then shuts down some of our biological processes. So some medications can also cause damage to the digestive system. So this could be anywhere from taking a medication for pain, which I know some of you are probably taking medications like antibiotics that are going to kill off all the good bacteria. And then also even birth control pills can affect that too. But usually stomach acid reduces the growth of bacteria or bad bacteria, which keeps the bacteria balanced in the small intestines. Chronic use of acid-lowering PPIs or proton pump inhibitors could set people up for SIBO. A study of 20 subjects for 4 weeks on omeprazole led to bacterial overgrowth. PPIs are being prescribed at an alarming rate by doctors, and pharmaceutical companies are making about $11 billion by having about 70% of patients on PPI medications long term, which means that PPIs are one of the leading, besides statins, which are some of the leading pharmaceutical medications being used by people right now. And PPIs also slow down motility, so they negatively affect the acid balance and can affect the immune system health. And chronic use of pain medications can also lead to SIBO because it slows down motility. So this is all important information. I know that it's hard. I know I was taking Tramadol for my pain medication because it didn't make me constipated. But I also used a lot of turmeric. And when I say a lot, I used a lot of turmeric and curcumin so that I could go to work because it modulates inflammation, not only in your digestive system, but throughout your body. So next, we're going to talk about diet and how it impacts our digestive health. And so what we have in America is what we call the SAD diet, or the standard American diet. This is high in refined carbohydrates and sugars. These foods can impact blood sugar in negative ways, resulting in fluctuations of hunger, cravings, snacking throughout the day, which can affect gut motility, and migrating motor complex, also called MMC, which we're going to talk about next. But before we do that, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what's called the, let me find it, blood sugar roller coaster. And so hopefully everybody can see this. We're good, hopefully. Okay, so blood sugar roller coaster is something that we talk about in every coaching session that I do. We have two pictures here. One is unhealthy blood sugars leading to poor health, and another is healthy blood sugar leading to optimal health. And the reason that this is so important is that our blood sugar affects all of the aspects of health in our body. So this is why we talk about it all the time, because blood sugar is so important. So anyway, an unbalanced breakfast would be what we would say, you know, cold cereal that has a lot of sugar, skim milk, which doesn't have a whole lot of protein or fat, orange juice, which is basically sugar water with some orange flavoring, depending on what brand you get, coffee, which is a stimulant, just coffee or no breakfast at all. I know some people might be doing like a keto diet, and that's a little bit different story, but we're talking about going until, you know, 10 or 11 or even 12 and not eating anything. It's really stressful on the body. So, or an unbalanced breakfast. So this type of breakfast is stressful. It shoots your blood sugar out of the normal range. Most people are then going to have more mood swings, brain fog. Insulin is triggered, which is a fat storage hormone, and that's going to store any excess sugar as fat, which I know a lot of us, actually that's a good thing because we're trying to gain weight. But for other people, you know, this is what happens because their systems are just not, their blood sugar isn't balanced. So within an hour to 2 hours, then people usually are going to crash because their blood sugar levels drop. This is also stressful on the body. This leads to more cravings, fatigue, brain fog, and this also triggers your cortisol in your adrenal glands to be turned on, which means that you're going to be pumping out cortisol to bring your blood sugar back up to normal range. And this can just be hard on your adrenal glands, which are supposed to be making stress hormones, sex hormones, and other hormones in our body to keep us healthy. So basically, if this happens on a regular basis, all day, every day, this sets people up for poor health. I'm not necessarily saying this is, you know, everyone here, but this is just good information to know about. So then if we're looking at the healthy blood sugar levels leading to optimal health, we're looking at 2 eggs, which have healthy fat and protein, 1 cup of spinach, you know, which is a carbohydrate, which is healthy, cheese, if you can tolerate cheese, which will have some protein and fat, a cup of berries, which is also a low glycemic carbohydrate, either some herbal tea or green tea. Sorry, there's a kid screaming out there. But this is a more balanced breakfast, and what I like to talk about with every coaching person is that a balanced breakfast would be a little bit of healthy fat, protein, and carbohydrates to keep everything balanced. So it's not just carbohydrates, which is going to raise your blood sugar. We also like to talk about how important it is to eat organic whenever possible. And this has to do with the spinach or the berries, because a lot of our produce has a lot of toxic chemicals like herbicides and pesticides, which can actually, and we'll talk about it in a minute, will actually promote the bad bacteria in your gut, leading to more SIBO, leading to more dysbiosis. So I will just bring this up right now just to get out of the way, but there's called the Dirty Dozen, which is was created by the Environmental Working Group. It acts as a overseer of FDA and USDA, and they found that it's not just 1 or 2 pesticides or herbicides that are being sprayed on our food, it's multiple, and some of those are not being regulated. So if at all, it's important to eat what's called the Dirty Dozen, which have the highest amount of pesticides and herbicides, and that would be strawberries, spinach, nectarines, apples, grapes, peaches, cherries, pears, tomatoes, celery, potatoes, and sweet bell peppers. And I can send this to Tara and to Stacy so that they can, give this information to you in case, I know I said that fast. But basically, if you can at least eat those, the dirty dozen organic, then you're going to be less exposed to herbicides and pesticides. Okay, sorry for the rant. But anyway, going back to our balanced breakfast, this type of breakfast keeps our blood sugar in the normal range. This means that your insulin isn't going to be triggered and also not setting you up for insulin resistance, which is another thing that can affect your heart health. But anyway, people have steadier moods on this diet. They have more energy on this diet because they're not crashing. It's not as stressful. Their cortisol isn't being turned on. They're not having cravings, and they also can think more clearly. There is more information, but I'm going to just, I sent this to Stacy and Tara, and you can read it at your leisure whenever you get a chance. So let's go back to the presentation. And we're going to talk now about something called migrating motor complex. Before I move on, does anybody have any questions? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. So, the migrating motor complex, or MMC, is an electrical wave that occurs in between meals when we're fasting to clean up the gut of undigested food and bacteria. It moves these items through the small intestine towards the colon. When your tummy is rumbling, that usually means that your MMC is working to clean up your gut. This happens about every 90 minutes and has 3 phases. When you start eating, the cycle stops and no sleeping occurs. This also happens when you're sleeping. So gastric juices, bile flow, and pancreatic enzymes increase in these phases. So it's basically like the cleaning crew coming up and, cleaning up in your digestive system and helping to break down some of those foods that might not have been processed initially. But having the MMC working properly is really important, and there's several ways to keep it healthy. But also, this can also be a contributor to SIBO if it's not working properly. And this has to do with if we're eating on a regular basis in between meals, which I know a lot of us need to keep our weight up so that we can tolerate our surgery, or you're just trying to gain weight because you've lost so much weight. I understand, eating between meals, is important right now for you if you can do it. But for other people who don't have SMAS or some of the other compression syndromes, eating in between meals actually impacts the cleaning crew that is supposed to be helping clean up our gut. So the MMC housekeeping wave occurs every 1.5 to 2 hours in between meals when you're fasting. Too much snacking and eating in between meals doesn't give the MMC time to clean the gut properly. It is recommended to allow 3 to 4 hours in between meals for MMC to work well. It also happens as we sleep. So next, let's talk about the impact of certain herbicides and pesticides such as glyphosate, which is Roundup, which is used in the food industry and actually can be toxic for our immune systems and for our digestive systems. So this is really interesting, I found. It is no wonder that our society has so many gut issues, but glyphosate is actually Roundup. It's an herbicide that was originally registered as an antibiotic, which can disrupt and destroy good bacteria in the gut, leading to digestive problems such as SIBO. The glyphosate is very common in food supply today, especially in conventional and processed foods. Started in about 1994, and human exposure to glyphosate has increased by 500%. Glyphosate residues have been found in 93% of urine samples in people since 1994, and recent studies show the common oat cereals found in Walmart, Kroger, Costco, Safeway reveal that 100% have glyphosate residues. This is a main reason that it's important to eat organic whenever possible, grass-fed meats, and wild-caught fish to reduce your exposure to harmful toxins and herbicides and such as glyphosate. So I don't know if anybody wants to raise their hand, and maybe Tara or Stacy can let me know, but How many of you are trying to eat organic whenever possible at this time? So I don't know if anybody is eating organic, but at least if you can stick to the dirty dozen, that is actually really, really helpful. So let's talk about how digestive illnesses such as IBS and IBD can affect SIBO. There's kids yelling in the bathroom next to me, just so you know. But anyway, okay, so irritable bowel syndrome or IBS, and then there's inflammatory bowel disease, which is IBD. And IBS and IBD are very common GI disorders. It is estimated that 10 to 15% of the worldwide population has IBS. It's estimated that 1.3% of the population, about 3 million, have IBD. So how many of you, here's another audience participation question, how many of you were initially diagnosed with IBS and IBD before you were diagnosed with SMAS or other compression syndromes? You can let me know too later at the end. So it's just amazing. I know that a lot of people have been. I was, diagnosed with IBS before they found the SMAS, but it's just interesting how different doctors just think, that SMAS doesn't exist and other compression syndromes are just not as familiar with. But anyway, so talking about IBS, IBS has no underlying cause and is only diagnosed based on symptoms. It is not a disease, but a syndrome that affects bowel function. Usually IBS involves gas, bloating, and altered bowel habits without a physical explanation. Now, IBD is a little bit different. It's structural damage to the gut when seen with an X-ray, endoscopy, surgery, or biopsy. Damage is caused by inflammation from an inappropriate immune response to normal gut bacteria, which can lead to Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. People are familiar with IBD and IBS, but can be confusing because some symptoms are similar. So I'm sure a lot of you already have a lot of these things, but as you can see, there seem to be some overlapping symptoms. So IBS has abdominal pain, bloating, constipation, diarrhea. IBD, inflammation, abdominal pain, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, weight loss, bloody stools, fever, and fatigue. So some of these, are going to be overlapping, but as you can see, IBD is much more serious. Inflammation being one of the major things that is a symptom. IBD also could, some doctors might think that SMAS is IBD because of the weight loss and the fatigue, and the abdominal pain, but they are different. But what else do these symptoms look like? Let's see. SIBO. So a lot of these symptoms are very similar to SIBO. So, I think that SIBO is also one of those things that isn't being diagnosed properly by enough doctors, when in fact, you're going to see a lot of correlation between SIBO, IBS, and IBD. But I think it's starting to become more common because I've had a lot more coaching people that have come in with SIBO. The research is now saying that SIBO may play a role in GI conditions such as IBS and IBD. SIBO may even be just as common as IBS. So SIBO is a common cause of IBS and found in about half the cases of IBS and IBD. One way that SIBO is diagnosed is with a breath test. This test is testing for a chemical called lactolase. And in a study, researchers had 202 patients with IBS. They found SIBO in 78% of the subjects. After SIBO treatment, half of the patients had no IBS symptoms after that. In another study, researchers had 111 patients with IBS. They found SIBO in 84% of the patients in the study. And after SIBO treatment, 75% of the patients had improvement in bowel habits. While SIBO is thought to be a common cause of IBS, IBD is thought to be a cause of SIBO. So, and we can talk about this after, but it's really interesting that a lot of these people that have IBS actually have SIBO. And remember, SIBO is small bacterial overgrowth in the small intestines where the bacteria isn't really supposed to be. So SIBO is thought to be a complication of IBD. Chronic inflammation in IBD harms or impairs the bacteria needed to protect the digestive system and the bacteria's ability to support digestive health. For example, this inflammation can affect the ileocecal valve, and I'm actually kind of became an expert after my surgery on ileocecal valve massage for myself, which actually helped a lot after my surgery, which allows digestive food waste to move from the small intestines to the large intestines. Number two, it affects stomach acid balance, so that stomach acid in your gut that is needed to be highly acidic, so that it can break down food, so you can absorb your nutrients and to prevent pathogenic bacteria from getting into your bloodstream. Intestinal motility, which is movement of food through the digestive system, and the immune system that can many times be compromised because of chronic inflammation. So the symptoms usually include malabsorption, diarrhea, gas, bloating, and mild to moderate abdominal pain. So a study looking at 57 subjects with Crohn's disease found that treating SIBO significantly reduced overall symptoms and disease activity. So it's really interesting how these all kind of correlate together. So some of the reasons or things that play a role in IBD and IBS have to do with how complex these are and the different mechanisms. So that would be for IBS, we have leaky gut, which again is allowing those large molecules to get into our digestive system, which are really not supposed to be there. Affects our immune response, our neurological immune interaction, our stress and psychological factors, and the gut bacteria microbiome is affected as well, as our genetics are too. And then with IBD, the imbalances are usually genetic factors and environmental factors. So those are all important things to realize, that IBD and IBS, these are all imbalances that affect our brain, affect our nervous system, affect our immune health. Leaky gut, affects what foods we let into our bloodstream, into our digestive system, inflammation, SIBO, dysbiosis. And this also can produce more food allergies and sensitivities because all of this bacteria is not imbalanced. While many factors may be involved, bacterial imbalance or overgrowth is now thought to play an important role in IBS, IBD, and gut discomfort. As you can see, bacterial imbalance can create havoc on the body. What can we do to help our digestive system? Let's find out. Okay, so supporting gut comfort and health requires a holistic approach that focuses on the maintenance of healthy microbial balance within the gut and by promoting the health of our protective gut lining. Patients with SIBO need to find a knowledgeable doctor that can help them eliminate bacterial overgrowth in the small intestines, where bacteria are not supposed to be in large numbers. Interventions from doctors usually include medications, but also sometimes herbs. And as a nutritional health coach, I can recommend supplements to support gut comfort, and to support microbial balance, promote normal functioning of the digestive system. The only caveat is that I found with my own self that it worked really well after I had surgery. Before surgery, it felt like I was just trying to get through the day, eat and consume what I could, so that I could keep my weight up so I could tolerate surgery. But also, if you have too many other compression syndromes or gastroparesis, I'm not sure if some of these interventions will help, but it's worth, obviously giving a try. It's important to see a good doctor or a naturopath, a functional medical doctor, to help you with restoring your microbial balance in your gut. It is important also to address the underlying causes for digestive distress, which we're going to talk about now, which is, let's see. let me go back. Sorry, I lost my track. Okay. So there are several dietary and lifestyle changes that can support normal function of the gut and help maintain healthy microbial balance by minimizing stress. So stress management is really important. Getting enough sleep so that your MMC cleaning crew can do its job. Eating a healthy diet that supports blood sugar balance, which we talked about. Also eating healthy foods such as organic, eating less processed and non-GMO foods whenever possible can support blood sugar balance. Feeling full, which is satiety, and minimizing cravings. Meal spacing, allowing 3 to 4 hours in between meals to support your MMC so it can clean out your gut. And prioritizing organic, like we talked about with glyphosate, whenever possible to reduce the damage to the bacterial ecosystem and to support microbial balance. So organic, again, is something that we talk about a lot at Natural Grocers because we sell basically all of our produce is organic. So it makes it really helpful. You don't have to try to determine what's organic and what isn't. Supplements also can be supportive. And let me just back up real quick. I wanted to talk a little bit about the FODMAP diet, which, let me see. I think I'm going to be talking about in a minute. So yeah, we'll go back to that. Okay, so some supplements can actually be really beneficial for gut motility, and supplements such as 5-HTP. 5-HTP is a precursor to serotonin and to tryptophan, so it can support our mood, it can support sleep. It has a lot of other benefits, but it also can support your gut. As long as you're not taking certain medications that affect serotonin levels in your brain, so you wouldn't want to do both. If you're already taking something for mood, 5-HTP would not be something that you want to be taking. Ginger extract is another one, and ginger extract is really supportive because it can be supportive for lung health, digestive health, urinary health, all different things. Certain probiotics for supporting motility can also be helpful. And we'll talk about one in particular here, a study of 88 subjects supplemented with bifidobactam lactose HN019 probiotic strain for 14 days. The subjects found that this strain supported healthy gut motility, regularity, and digestive distress, such as gas and bloating. So Jennifer, I think you were asking about gas and bloating. These would be some supplements that might be helpful for you and for anybody else that is having that problem. So ginger and 5-HTP can support digestive health. Some studies that they did. So in one study, subjects took 200 milligrams of ginger extract while fasting to support MMC action. In another study, 1.2 grams of ginger powder or supplements supported normal emptying of the stomach, which I know is another thing that people with SMAS have to deal with, is proper emptying of your stomach. Animal studies have also shown that 100 to 200 milligrams of 5-HTP can support the health of your MMC. So, going back, it depends on the person. We're not allowed to tell people how much to take. So that's why we say, right here, it says 100 to 200 milligrams. Kind of have to find what works for you. Some people take it during the day. Some people take it at nighttime because it can support sleep as well. But these would be two things that might be helpful for people looking for support with digestive distress, motility, and just also supporting your stress as well. Another supplement that can be supportive is digestive enzymes. And at the end, I'll show you some of the supplements that I have on my desk right now. But healthy digestion is very important. It is also important to have enough digestive enzymes to support a healthy and balanced gut microbiome. In 2018, a mouse study showed that taking pancreatic enzyme supplements supported good gut bacteria, such as supporting a good bacteria like Lactobacillus reuteri by modulating gut inflammation. SIBO can impair the function and release of intestinal digestive enzymes, which decrease as we age. So this is why it might be important to try to supplement with some digestive enzymes, especially for your pancreas, so you can support the beneficial bacteria in your gut. A good enzyme supplement should include protease, amylase, and lipase. Protease usually is going to break down protein. Amylase is going to break down carbohydrates. Lipase is going to break down fat. Then there's a really cool enzyme called alpha galactidase, which actually helps to reduce gas. And that you can actually buy separate, at least at our store, but alpha galactidase might be something to make sure that you get in your digestive enzyme. Another strategy for SIBO could be the low FODMAP diet. So this is a really cool diet, although it is kind of tricky for some people to do, so it's not everybody, up everybody's alley. But FODMAPs are specific types of carbohydrates and sugars that can be fermented by bacteria in the gut. Therefore, these foods can promote gas, bloating, diarrhea, and contribute to SIBO. A high FODMAP diet or foods usually are going to be like fructose, high fructose corn syrup, which is in a lot of processed foods, agave syrup, apples, pears, and honey. Lactose, which is milk and yogurt. Fructan, which is wheat, barley, rye, onions, and garlic. Galactans, which is legumes. And polyols, which is sugar alcohols, mushrooms, cauliflower, avocados, and stone fruits. Some people find a low FODMAP diet to be supportive when dealing with digestive distress, and there are low FODMAP diet fiber supplements too that can be supportive for regularity. However, I think it's probably safe to say that most of us, unless you're dealing with diarrhea, don't really need more fiber, because that actually can back you up even more, cause you to be more constipated, especially if you're taking certain medications like pain medication. So these are what we call CLFs, or customer literature files, and I do have a CLF on the low FODMAP diet, so if anybody would like that information, I can send it to Stacey and Tara, and they can post that on Facebook. So this might be something, if you don't want to take supplements, to help you either after surgery or before surgery while you're trying to deal with your digestive distress. There's also another supplement that can be supportive for gut comfort, which is called Atrantil. And this is a really interesting supplement. This provides digestive support, relief for occasional bloating, abdominal discomfort, and change in bowel habits. It was actually created by a functional gastroenterologist, Dr. Kenneth Brown, whom actually Stacey knows, in Texas. This supplement provides daily digestive support and relief for all those things, and can also be supportive for microbial balance, especially when you have SIBO. So instead of taking the medication that they want you to take, you could take Atrantil. Some people might do Atrantil after they take the medication, which I believe is Xifaxan. But anyway, it is really supportive for digestive comfort and for microbial balance as well. The ingredients in Atrantil can be supportive, and they are peppermint, cabacho, and horse chestnut. And I don't know if I'm saying that word right or not, but anyway, I'm going to show a video of Dr. Kenneth Brown in just a second, and he will be able to explain it probably better than I can. So the three ingredients again is cabacho. It's actually Cabacho Colorado, which is the extract. This contains tannins that work as sponges, soaking up excess hydrogen and methane gas. Horse chestnut, which is also called the Concord tree, provides sapiens, which support a healthy microbial balance and normal intestinal motility. And then good old peppermint can provide support in times of occasional abdominal discomfort due to soothing and calming properties. But it also can support your microbial balance as well. Therefore, Atrantil can be very supportive for SIBO, since it can support healthy microbial balance, regularity, and overall digestive comfort. The only thing is that it tends to not be recommended for people who have clotting disorders, liver problems, or sometimes even decreased kidney function. So I'm not sure if people with nutcracker can do Atrantil, but I think Stacey said that she was taking it for a little while, and on the body, promoting gut discomfort and contributing to systemic issues, nutritional deficiencies, and gastrointestinal disorders like IBS and IBD. Supporting the health of your protective barriers is essential for helping maintain healthy microbial balance in the gut. Alongside gut comfort support, this can promote overall gut and bodily health. So, last but not least, there's some resources. Digestive Health with Real Food is one really good book that we carry here. The Paleo Approach, using the paleo diet, which is basically what our ancestors ate, minus we don't have any processed foods, you're eating organic all the time, things like that can actually be really supportive. And then making sure that you're dealing with any things like leaky gut. So this book by Dr. Josh Axe is a really good one as well. And just real quick, we'll get to questions in just a minute. I'm going to exit out of this and try to get back to trying to find. Okay, so let me unshare. Okay. Okay, so anyway, here are some of my favorite supplements. One is, this is one of my favorite digestive enzymes. There's also pancreatic enzymes that we talked about earlier, but this is by Enzymedica, and it actually has the alpha galactidase to help with gas, but it also has other enzymes in it as well. So I don't know if you can see that, but here, Enzymedica. And this is Digest Gold, is one of my favorites. Ginger is another one, and this is just ginger root. So whichever ginger root that you want to get, that would be great. You can even get ginger powder. 5-HTP, see if I can. 5-HTP, this is my favorite one from Jarrow because it doesn't have any rice flour, which actually just diminishes its benefit. So 5-HTP, I take that at nighttime, and that seems to be working. Atrantil, we actually sell that here, so that's actually really great. I love taking it with, since I have a discount. But this is something that almost anybody can take, and this could be supportive. And then also I wanted to also point out a couple other things that we didn't talk about in the presentation, but I don't know if you guys know how important magnesium is. There's different forms of magnesium that can help with regularity, but my favorite is magnesium glycinate because it does do 300 different things in the body. So it's really important for us to be getting our magnesium, and we might be really low if we're not, getting the right nutrition to begin with. So magnesium glycinate is one of the forms that isn't a laxative. I mean, for some people, they actually might want that. But anyway, magnesium glycinate is something that is really beneficial. And then it really goes well. We didn't talk about regularity all that much, but it does play a role. This is one of my favorite supplements for regularity. And Triphala is an Ayurvedic, so meaning it's a herb, 3 different fruits from India that actually can be really supportive for regularity, just to keep you regular so that you're not going from one extreme to another, diarrhea, constipation, back and forth. And I actually have been taking this since I got done with surgery, just to help with regularity. I find that if I don't take it, then I'm backed up, but as long as I take this, it modulates inflammation in my gut and mucus in my digestive system and my colon, and it's just really helpful. So I wanted to share this with you just because, I don't normally get an opportunity to share this information. So that's really all I have